Welcome to Green Barbados. I'm your host, organic agronomist, economist and sustainable development specialist, Dr. David Bynoe, and I'm passionate about greening Barbados one household at a time. And what better way to green Barbados than to green it through what we eat, what we cook, and how we grow. So in this first episode, I'm gonna walk you through how to grow green at home with limited space and zero waste. For this first episode, all you need is a little space that you can do some composting. You need some scraps from your kitchen. You'll also need maybe some leaves from the trees around or some grass clippings. And these are very few things that everyone should have around their home. And all you need to do is join us. Let's grow green together. Let's get to it. How to. This is exactly what it's about. So we all know that in every household, most households will have some cucumbers, and we can grow these. We don't need to import them. In fact, these are locally grown cucumbers. We have squash. We can grow them as well, and we can grow them in our backyards. A lovely sweet potato. Now, some people don't know big grain rice, but during the World War, we had to depend on sweet potato for food. So that's important. Now, you may have your beets. And the reason why I'm showing you these things, because all these things are things that you may use when you're doing your food, especially for Sunday lunch in Barbados. You have to have your vegetables. But when you take the vegetables and you peel off the skins, you create waste. But we don't need to have waste, because that waste can be transformed into wealth. So we have waste here in the form of, these are some lettuce that was going bad from my fridge. We have, I did some eggs this morning for breakfast. You have the eggshells. You have cucumber skins. What about when you're making tea and you have the tea bags left over? You can take out the actual tea from there and you can use it in your compost. This is good green material for your compost. But there's some things that you must know that you don't put in compost. And these are things like milk-based products, because it's going to cause the compost pile to go off. You're going to cause rodents and other things to come in. So don't use any things like yogurt and milk. Ideally, when you have a young compost that you're now starting for the first time, you don't want to introduce things like onion peels and onions, because they tend to repel earthworms, which you want in your compost pile. In addition, you don't use garlic. We know that garlic is very good in terms of being antibacterial and also fighting infection, but it can impact the microbes within the compost that you need negatively, and it also repels the earthworms. So you don't want to put garlic into that compost pile. But once you have the other good stuff, which is any green material, any material, vegetable material that you get from your garden, you can use that in your compost pile. People may ask about the eggshells. The eggshells are very good for calcium, because they have a high calcium content, and you can crush them and you can place them in your compost pile. Now you may say that we are limestone formation, so we should have a lot of calcium in our soils, but because of the high alkalinity, sometimes the calcium is not rapidly available, so adding eggshells would also be a good addition, and your plants will love you for it. But it's not all about the greens. When you speak about composting, there's a balance that you need to have, and that balance is a balance between nitrogen and carbon, or your carbon to nitrogen ratio. So simple rule of thumb, your green material that you're going to use, like your clippings from the grass that is green, or your cucumber peels and peels from vegetables, that is considered your green material. Your brown material could be leaves from a tree. You have a banana tree, you have other trees there that are creating some carbon or brown materials. You want to have that, and you can look at two ratios. Generally speaking, you would like to have 4 parts brown to 3 parts green. But if you don't want to get so practical, just the worst you can do is half and half, 1 to 1. So for every portion of green material, you put 1 portion of brown. I prefer to use 2 to 1, more carbon than nitrogen. So you put 2 parts of the brown material to 1 part of the green. So for a very small demonstration here, let's say this was 1 part green, and you have to be willing to get your hands a bit dirty if you're doing composting and if you're doing home gardening, to another handful. You take a handful of 1 part brown, and that would be your 1 to 1 ratio, and you ensure that you have that mix. But how do you do it? When you have your ratios, you normally layer it. So you put down a layer of brown material, and then you put down a layer of green material, and then you keep on layering on top of that, because remember, you're creating waste on a weekly basis, and you layer it. And when you layer it, you also keep it moist. That moisture is to allow it to break down, but also to allow for the microorganisms and the earthworms and other things that are within the soil to be able to access that moisture and work on breaking down that material. Normally you try to turn it. You try to turn it at least once a week, if you can, once a day. Now, the more you turn it, the faster it decomposes. However, if you are very busy and you can't turn that compost pile, no problem, you can still compost. You can do static composting, but it'll take a little longer. Normally, if you keep it static, it may last take about 3, sometimes even up to 5 months before it is composted properly. However, if you're turning it once a day or every couple of days, you can get compost in a month or less. So it's up to you, to each his own. But we want to know about what happens at the end. What is the finished product? Now, this is some compost from my garden here. And you can see it's very, very rich. It almost looks like soil. And this is going to be high in nutrients. It's also going to have a high nitrogen content as well. But it has organic matter. And most soils in the Caribbean, particularly Barbados, have a very low organic matter content. In most countries, the organic matter content should be around 3% in tropical countries, 5% in temperate countries. Guess what the organic matter content is in Barbados on average? Less than 1%. And this is because we've been doing monoculture of sugarcane for such a long time that the organic matter is so low. So when you create compost at home and you put it into your garden, you're building the organic matter content, and your plants and the microbes in that soil, they're gonna love you for it. Let's grow green together. Helping Barbados to grow green is not only about gardening and growing your own food. After growing your own food, you have to know how to cook it. And in this first episode, we focused on growing in limited space, but also composting and creating zero waste. But one way in which you can also reduce waste is also to use your food wisely. To help us to do this and to make this program as holistic as possible, we have Chef Adrian, and he's gonna do an amazing job of helping you identify when you have some extra stuff in your kitchen, in your refrigerator, instead of throwing it away, some creative ways in which you can use it. Chef Adrian, it's over to you.
Hi, I'm Chef Adrian Cumberbatch, and this is Grow Green Compost. Today I'm going to make for you using used ingredients already, utilize the ingredients, carrots, some onions, some pumpkin herbs. I'm going to do a pork broth for you. Very, very simple, very easy to do, using our locally grown ingredients here. Okay guys, so let's get this pork broth ready. Compost, let's go. So I have some garlic cloves here, and here you will see the end. I would throw away my ends of the vegetables. What I usually do in the kitchen, we could use this for stock. You know, stock is a flavorful liquid. You can make chicken stock, beef stock, fish stock, or you could use it for your plants as compost. So I'm just gonna get a couple cloves of garlic ready. Not much, a very, very simple recipe. I know a lot of you may never hear about pork broth, but you know, pork is big in Barbados. We eat pork every day, especially on Saturdays. Right, I don't throw away this, I add this to my compost mixture here and leave that. Again, that could use for stock or anything. I'm gonna cut my onions in julienne, add them in there. This is a one pot dish, very quick, very simple, and rustic. So I'm gonna chop the cloves of garlic up. This is 5 cloves of garlic. I want this to be rough chopped too as well. Something that you could make with all your leftover ingredients you have home. Right, quick chop. Add that inside there. Let's move this out the way that we could do our pork. Here I have pork stew. Add that in there. Obviously, make sure you wash off your pork and thing first. In my seasoning mixture, I have garlic powder, all-purpose seasoning, paprika powder, onion powder, salt, and a little white pepper. Mix that around nicely. Right. Season up your pork. Tablespoon of that mixed seasoning. In here, I use a local seasoning, already done blended already, already done mixed, store-bought. My favorite, very simple. You know, you don't have to cut down all that process of you home, cutting up onions and making green seasoning and all that. Very simple to use. Right. Once you have your pork marinated, that's lovely already. I'm gonna add a little oil to help coat it, not much, small amount. A tablespoon of oil into there. Right. Let your pork marinate. Once the pork is marinated, try to get some more vegetables quickly ready for your dish. You're gonna add some pumpkin. Remember, don't throw away the skin of these fruits and vegetables, okay? Get your pumpkin out. Some people leave the skin on. I like it sometimes in my vegetables, sometimes, not all the time. Right. Again, rough cubes. You're making a broth, nothing too fancy. Right. Time to get my stove on. Let's get the herbs chopped up. Leave that one side on my cutting board. I have marjoram. I'm gonna leave this whole. Always remember to ensure you wash your herbs beforehand. This is garlic chives. Fresh and nice. I have French thyme. Add that in there too. I have chives to add. All locally grown. Right. Right. Again, the ends don't throw away. I have a hot pepper to add in my dish after. I have the garlic already. Let me make sure I have every single thing. I want to add a corn to this broth, man. Right, keep your compost. Take off the hair off the corn. I'm gonna cut these in little cobbettes first, and then in half. Get this here. Get all your fruits, get all your vegetables, in your pork broth. All right. So once you have everything done cut, your pan is hot. I'm gonna add again back here a little oil. A little oil in there, not much. Let me get my spoon ready. All right. Pan is smoking, come to the smoke point. I'm gonna add my pork first. Smelling lovely already. You just wanna sear the juices in the meat. You got some water. Use the water from the same bowl you have your pork in, get all that marinade out. Right, you want to see the color on the pork, and look at the bottom of the pan. You see that nice dark caramelization there in the pan? You want to get that. When you add the water and the flavor to that, it's going to bring out that lovely flavor in your pork broth. So once you get your pork seared like that, I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. We have the herbs and the carrots and the crispy onions and garlic we had previously. Just dump all of that inside. Remember the broth we're making. Pumpkin. Let's add every single thing to the pot. One pot. And if your family to enjoy. Add some of the herbs. Remember you have a red pepper, so remember that is in there. You don't want to burst that. And that will be too hot. What we want to do here now is just cover. Bring the water right to the edge. That's all you need. And then you want to season it back here now. If you add more ingredients, you want to add another tablespoon and a half of the chef mix to add flavor in there. We're gonna add some more herbs. Then we let our food flavor in Barbados. All right. Give it a quick even out. Keep your pepper on top. It reminds you that that's there. It's gonna come out at the end. And we just cover and let that set. This is gonna take 25 minutes to half an hour under some good pressure, and you're gonna have your pork broth ready. Stay tuned for this one. It's gonna be nice. So guys, a half an hour is gone. It's time to check our pork broth. Remember, it's compost. We have all the ingredients here remaining. You can use to make soup or stock or make compost, so you have that cycle of life again for your beautiful plants, fruits, and vegetables. Oh, you hear that sound? Magic. Beautiful. Let's get this pork broth off and time to plate it out. Oh, I don't say there. Ooh. Remember that hot pepper that we have in there is right here. You do not want this to burst. Let me just take this out and show you. That adds a flavor. And then this too could go into the compost section too. Right? Let's finish plating our soup, our pork broth. Not too much, not too fancy. Again, fresh herbs are always best to garnish up. And look at that, ladies and gentlemen. You ever had a pork broth? This is a pork broth with plenty of vegetables, carrots, and crispy. There's corn in there, plenty of herbs. The natural juices from the pork helps flavor up this, and it's healthy. It's not fried. It's not any trans fat in this dish here. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoy it. Compost. I'm Chef Adrian Cumberbatch. Thank you very, very, very much for logging on. Have a fantastic day today. Okay, bye-bye.
In Grow Green Barbados, we're doing this together. And so you're gonna see people from all walks of life helping you to grow green. Today is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you our first Grow Green champion, Senator Dr. Chelston Brathwaite, as he helps you to grow green using vermicomposting.
It's a pleasure to be here and welcome to my garden here at Claremont, St. Michael. This garden, which I started about just over 5 years ago, is in fact a place of peace and tranquility for me where I come and get my exercise, but I also produce green organic food. And that food is not only of plant origin, because here in this place I also have fish and I have rabbits. I believe that everyone in Barbados should produce some of their own food. We cannot produce all, but we can produce some of our own food, especially the fresh fruits and vegetables. This method is one that I have perfected over time to deal with the remains and the excess material from the kitchen. As you know, when you cook, you get a lot of peel, you get eggshells, you get tea bags. There is quite a bit coming out of the kitchen, which you have to dispose of. Most people put it into the garbage. Here we don't. I have two methods of dealing with waste, kitchen waste. One I call the rapid composting method, and I will show you how that works. Here in this bucket, I have the refuse from the kitchen, and you will see the banana peel, eggshells, and all the other things that is normal from the kitchen, onion waste, etc. I place all of this into a blender, an old blender that I got from my wife. All of this is refuse from the kitchen, pawpaw skins, banana peels, all of this I just place into this blender, and then I add water to it. Having placed that water, then cover it down, and then I apply the electricity to blend it. So I make a puree, like a soup. Once it is blended like that, I then turn off the machine, and I take this and I pour it into a 5-gallon bucket, which is half filled with soil. That puree then remains covered, no flies, and over time the liquid seeps through the soil, is collected by a pipe which I attach to the bottom of the bucket, and the liquid goes to feed, in this case, a rosemary plant. And you can see how lovely the plant is growing as a result of the liquid that is obtained by the process. You can see the liquid dripping into the plant. If you take this up, you'll see the drops of liquid coming out. This liquid fertilizes the plant, keeps it moist, keep the roots active, and the plant continues to grow. There are no flies, no odors. All you have to do when you're finished, wash out your blender, and that's the end of that story. After a couple of weeks, maybe a month, you take this bucket, you take it into your garden, empty that into your garden beds, and you start all over again with another half bucket of usually soil mix. Grow Green Barbados.
Thank you for joining us on Grow Green Barbados. I'm sure you've learned a lot. Now you can compost at home. You know how to garden in limited space and how to identify those spaces. Santa Dr. Brathwaite would have ensured that you can do some composting, and he's leading the way at home. In addition, Chef Adrian now ensure that you have no excuse not to reduce your waste that is going to the landfill, or even in terms of being thrown out in your compost pile. So join us as usual, Grow Green Barbados.